This parable makes me very uncomfortable. Making 100% profit means someone has gone without or been disadvantaged for that profit to be achieved. This parable is a descriptive one of how the system works when an absentee landlord gives money to his servants only to demand a healthy return. It is a descriptive parable of someone who refused to participate in the process in a situation where the absentee landowners and their servants were the primary interface between Jewish peasantry and the Roman Empire. That servant deemed lazy and unfaithful by this empire pays an awful price for refusing to play along. Now, if we read this parable in context, the people who Jesus would have been talking to while telling this story would have been the peasants of Palestine. When he mentioned the wealthy landowner and the talent, amount worth many millions of dollars by today's standards, it would have been very clear to the peasants who the wealthy person represented. The listeners would have known straight away that Jesus was speaking of those who owned the land, the ones who would raise the taxes, the ones who had the power to change the laws, put constraints on their freedom, and keep them in a state of poverty. Jesus said that he put his top 3 servants in charge. The people would have also known what that meant, that the 3 men would have orders to get money multiplied in any way they saw fit, including putting pressure on the peasants. The system was corrupt, and the rich continued to get richer and the poor poorer. Seems things have not changed very much in 2,000 years. So when the absentee landlord returns, the first 2 servants get rewarded for doing what they were charged to do, make money. The 3rd servant, because he hid his talent, gets punished. He was cast out. But it is the 3rd servant who may be the hero, because he saw the landowner for who he really was. He saw what he was expected to do and realised that in order to do it, he would have to buy into and perpetuate a corrupt system. He refused and challenged the landowner. The 3rd servant was willing to risk being poor himself, to live among the oppressed, in order not to participate in the corruption. It was his ultimate sacrifice for the people. Jesus is giving the people an illustration of how the world is, and that sometimes we must be willing to risk and sacrifice our own comfort for the greater good. Sometimes we must take even one step against the system, not to accept the status quo. This parable of the talents is a story of investments, wise or not wise. It is also a story of world views, that is scarcity and that of abundance. When we talk about the theology of abundance, we're not talking about a prosperity doctrine. It is a doctrine of expectation that God is present and active in the world, and that we need not fear the world around us. It is fear that distracts us from living with expectant hearts. It is fear that keeps us from loving our neighbour. It is fear that keeps us from dreaming dreams with God. It is fear that leads us to hoard and bury our resources in the ground rather than investing them in the work of God. Te Tāpui Atawhai operates on generous donations from the people and businesses of Auckland. We have a fundraising and reputation team who work tirelessly engaging with Auckland's businesses and community groups to to raise funds so we continue our mission with the disadvantaged and disenfranchised of our city. This team is responsible for growing public awareness about the reality of poverty, food insecurity, and homelessness in Tamaki Makaurau, and inspiring our community to stand with those in need. They're responsible for raising money to fund our services and make sure our supporters feel loved and appreciated. Without investing these donations, home ground would never have been realised, and our mahi would not continue. Nevertheless, our mahi does continue. We still have, I'm saying hundreds, but I think it's thousands, of hungry whānau who are often working in low-paying work and just don't have enough money after rent to put kai on the table. This week, I was talking to one of our whānau who was very reluctant to attend an outpatient's appointment at Green Lane Clinical Centre. He explained that the journey there and back involved catching 4 buses at the cost of $16. No wonder it's difficult to get our whānau to attend outpatients when you only have about $80 left for food after you've paid rent and utilities. The bus fare is not going to be spent. Fortunately, we can ensure that our whānau attend their outpatients by taking them or arranging taxis. However, this funding is pretty limited. So there is an area where we need more funding, and we did have a little glimmer of hope this week that we might have some funding for just this purpose. Te Whatu Ora are being more helpful in this area, and I do hope when we finally get a government, they will not change. My fingers are crossed, not sure how much I believe it won't change. We serve a God who has blessed us with talents, and the only risk involved is not using those gifts at all. There is no fear of making a mistake, because when you have experienced God's love, you realise that love is perfect, and perfect love casts out all fear. So perhaps this isn't such an uncomfortable parable, but one that challenges us to use our talents and invest them in achieving the message Jesus has given us to love one another and share our prosperity with each other. Amen.